We are live. Hello and welcome to PropTech Buzz, a global ecosystem of PropTech leaders from all around the world who come together on this podcast and we unravel the mysteries of how to build PropTech companies, how to grow PropTech businesses, understand the dynamics of the global PropTech ecosystem, and we talk to these leaders. And talking about leaders, we have one such leader today, Andrew Knight with us. Andrew is a global data and tech lead with RICS. He is a highly experienced technology specialist and a relationship management professional with a strong commercial background working for RICS. And he's currently leading the program to develop, enhance, and gain adoption of RICS data standards that support data exchange between service providers, technology companies, and end users of data in the built environment and valuation sectors too. So let's welcome Andrew. Andrew, welcome to PropTech Buzz. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, and thanks for having me on the broadcast.
Thank you, Andrew. I've been waiting this for long. In fact, I tried to reach out last year as well, but you are busy. But now that it's happening, I'm very happy. Before we get into the meatier stuff of AI and data and real estate, Andrew, maybe a little bit of your background, the your years of your professional career to which you have built till the day today. If you can just give us a summary, that'll be great pedestal to.
Yeah, surely, Ravi. I mean, I've been with RICS for 13 years, where, as hopefully people know, we're an international professional body in the built environment. We have about 110,000 members working worldwide, and they work right across the whole land and property life cycle across all the different asset types. So it's a very broad profession that I represent here in terms of the kind of practice areas and the impact they have on the built environment. Prior to my work at RICS, I do have a long history in data and technology. I go back rather depressingly, given the implication for my age, to the era of mainframes and punch cards and things like Fortran, and I've also seen AI develop over the decades. Worked on expert systems back in the 1980s, so I've seen a lot of evolution in the technology and data space, and I kind of bring that mix of data and technology background now to the expertise I've built up in terms of understanding all the various use cases and issues and opportunities for data and technology right across that built and natural environment.
Nice, nice. So with Rix, Andrew, I wanted to have, just a dumbed down version of the introduction of AI and data and real estate. So could you provide some examples of how AI and data analytics are currently being utilized in the real estate industry?
Certainly, I think almost the challenge with this question is there are so many examples of where it is being used. But maybe if I just pick out a few, really. I mean, if we think of the construction process, I know of firms now that are providing solutions that help with that process of taking quantities off either two-dimensional or three-dimensional drawings to do that bill of quants, that bill of materials. If we look at construction once again and think of the scheduling process, people are now using machine learning to look through the various permutations and options of using plant and machinery and labor to optimize projects, both pre-construction and during the process itself. There's a lot of activity in the valuation space, particularly on residential assets, where statistical models and machine learning is being used to generate estimates and opinion of value, and I say particularly on residential, but it's also being used for mass appraisal for taxation purposes on non-domestic properties. If you think of building operation, a lot of very valuable use of machine learning to optimize HVAC and workplace planning. So the challenge almost, Ravi, is not giving you too many examples, because it really is being applied right across the life cycle of land and property.
Right. But when you talk about use cases for AI, specific areas, you mentioned about valuation, you mentioned about building operation and HVAC. Any specific areas where you see AI and data having the most impact?
Well, I think once again the challenge is that there are opportunities right across the life cycle. I mean, I think where it has having really significant impact already, if we look at the landscape, I probably would highlight perhaps that building management side, where you've got vast amounts of data that's coming in from the Internet of Things and the various sensors, which gives you that opportunity to really optimize the way buildings are performing in that operational phase. And that's certainly a very powerful use already. I think in that valuation space, particularly when people are looking at these large, perhaps portfolios, where they want to do regular valuation, where, as I said, in the residential space, you have the depth and quality of data to allow you to generate valuation type information, that's where it's having a huge effect. I think where we're beginning to see other very significant effect is in the kind of data analytics, where you're looking perhaps at optimizing portfolios, where you're looking at optimizing large retail assets, where you're trying to work out the optimum mix of tenants. I'm seeing some very powerful data analytics there. But I think if we reflect on the wide variation of use cases that are perhaps ripe to be automated and have this kind of power of AI and data analytics, when we think how broad the real estate and the property world is, there are huge opportunities. And so it's almost difficult to highlight one or two areas without recognizing that there is the potential here to apply analytics, to apply AI to so many parts of the process, whether it's extracting information from leases, for example, which has been going on for a number of years now. So there are these opportunities right across the life cycle, right across all these different asset types.
Nice. And how does AI and data-driven approaches improve efficiency and decision making in real estate processes?
Well, I think that there's a critical point here where I think, we always need to kind of reinforce, I think, the positive message that AI is here to augment people within the built environment in terms of their decision-making capability. And I think there's obviously a degree of concern that we will automate to a level where human beings are either no longer required or that we don't get that expertise. And I think it's a balancing act, Ravi, between the power of data analytics to inform professionals in the built environment in the decisions they make, but not automating it so much that we take away that really important kind of experience and knowledge that we have for what is still quite an idiosyncratic, heterogeneous asset type, where if you think of it from a global perspective, we have different jurisdictions, we have different asset types, we have different custom and practice, we have different markets in terms of the way they're behaving. And, particularly if we think of something like commercial real estate, where a lot of the assets are very different, we still need that expertise, we still need that human input. But what I think AI and data analytics can do is, as we get increasingly large amounts of data available for the built environment, as we get increasingly higher quality of data, and hopefully as we get larger amounts of data that's going to be shared between participants, we begin to have the opportunity in many markets to do the kind of data analytics that we've just never been able to do before, because data has been siloed, it hasn't been particularly of a high quality, it hasn't necessarily been shared in the way that I think we should be sharing data. So we have this opportunity to, I think, begin to have a really powerful mix of good, trusted, statistically valid analytics, which will augment the experience and professional knowledge that built environment professionals have built up throughout their career.
Thank you. Let's look at the future outlook as well. I mean, you are at the forefront of this industry. What do you envision as the most significant changes AI and data will bring to the real estate in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it will have some quite profound changes about the way processes and overall digitization happens in the sector. I think it's fair to say that with a sector that's so fragmented, with many large operations, with smaller operations, with the nature of the many participants that are involved with constructing, planning, developing, running real estate, that one of the challenges has been to digitize the sector in a way that recognizes the many use cases, the many participants. So I think what AI and data and technology in general will allow us to do is to improve the processes, to not only just digitize those processes, but improve them. And I think also what it will do is give us the ability to actually drive more productivity and efficiency in the sector. But critically, it also will change job roles. I think we will, in a very positive sense, be able to have property professionals who can spend more time on the higher value advice, the more strategic issues, and have a lot of the kind of more tactical, data manipulation, data aggregation tasks, automation tasks done for them, then leaving them to have that kind of higher value conversation. So I remain very optimistic that what data and analytics and AI will do is provide that kind of automation, provide that kind of data aggregation, data analytics, but then we'll have that crucial role to play where human beings will be very important parts of the loop. But I think it is a huge opportunity for a sector that has been arguably behind the curve in terms of digitization and reaping the benefits in terms of productivity, efficiency. It'll be a real opportunity, I think, to have that. And I think one of the challenges that the sector has is around the availability and quality and structure of data. And I think AI will be part of the solution of that in helping us to perhaps retrofit, if I can use that expression, but to help us to turn a lot of the documents and historical data into data that is more usable for automation and more usable indeed to help drive machine learning, for example. We need good data in depth, in scope to build models in a machine learning context, and therefore I think it will help us help overall the sector digitize.
Nice. Let's talk about sustainability and urban development in specific. So, how might AI and data address challenges for sustainability and urban development in the real estate?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity here. Clearly, as you know, that the kind of sustainability is a very, very big issue for the built environment, and clearly with much of the developing world, particularly still urbanizing, still having a demand for a lot of new construction as people move to cities and that urbanization takes place. And I think AI, once again, because it can help us with those data analytics, whether it's in terms of that operational phase for buildings to improve their performance, but also analytics to help us understand the right design decisions that look at the implication of carbon particularly. And I think it's worth highlighting that although I've talked about obviously the huge implications around building efficiency, we've got to be very mindful about the level of embodied carbon that either new construction or retrofits involves. And I think where analytics and AI in general can help us with is understanding the options when we're designing either a new build or looking at a retrofit to help us understand the kind of materials to use, the design options that we may have at that stage that affect not only embodied carbon, but the running costs for that operation, for that asset, for the design life. So I think this power of data analytics to help and augment the human will be very, very important to understand the decisions we make when, as I say, we're building either new and also material banks, thinking about the circular economy. So I think that sustainability thing is really important. And clearly, when we now look at particularly these kind of planning issues and the concept of smart, efficient cities, we need to be using bigger data sets to understand the way people are behaving in terms of their commutes, the way they're going to use public versus private transport, the way they're going to use assets. And I think particularly we need to think about how we design places, this placemaking phrase, where we think about how we develop in an urban setting particularly with mixed use, with retail, with offices, with residential, with logistics. How do we make sure that we can use data that really helps us understand where to build, where to construct, how to link that to economic and transport factors, and how to be thinking also about biodiversity. How do we make sure that we do no harm when we urbanize, when we create developments? How do we make sure that we leave those places in a better state from a biodiversity point of view than when we started?
Excellent. Let's now talk about your role with the RICS as a global data and tech lead at RICS. What initiatives or projects in RICS currently undertaking to promote adoption of data standards in the built environment?
Well, I mean, we certainly have developed a data standard ourselves because we're really very, very mindful that data is the key to so much of what we've discussed today, because without good data, it's very hard to build AI models, for example. It's very hard to do analytics that are meaningful unless we have good quality data. And I think it is probably fair to say that the sector has not historically curated and managed, gathered data, shared data, understood the provenance, where that data has come from. And I think it's very important for us as a professional body in our space to educate the sector, lead in terms of thought leadership, and also by producing physical standards to make the sector understand that we need to be, as I say, curating, managing, governing data much, much, much better, because it is the driver for all this technology. Is that without good quality data, we will not have that. And a lot of it is about getting people to understand that we do need to share data more. And sharing data is both a behavioral issue and also a structural technical issue of making sure that we can actually exchange data sets, both in a way that's well governed, but also that we begin to agree on how we name things, the kind of taxonomy of how we describe the built environment. And it is a challenging piece because there are lots and lots of use cases, lots of data that we need to have around the assets as they go through their full life cycle. But it is about fundamentally educating our sector, making them realize the importance of data, the importance of having standards, the importance of sharing data in a well-governed way, and also I think the importance of making them understand the opportunity that AI provides, and from an educational, from a thought leadership perspective, being very, very clear that AI is a huge opportunity for the sector. I think many people, not only in the built environment but more broadly, may have understandable concerns that AI could be perceived to be replacing jobs, taking jobs away, but we have a much more positive view here that it's about augmenting people who work in the built environment, providing them with a set of very powerful tools that will make them more productive, more effective, providing better advice to clients, providing better buildings, providing better assets. So we're in a very kind of educational phase. We're also looking at guidance for our members to understand, particularly around AI, what those opportunities are, but also how to manage AI responsibly and make sure that we appreciate the risks in terms of where AI might be applied. And once again, that we understand the importance of good quality data, well-governed data when we're using AI type products.
By the way, I have also heard about RISO data standards. Is this different from RICS data standards, or is
Yes,
that?
I mean, one of the challenges, Ravi, is that there are many standards around the world, and what I hope is that over time, people will understand the importance of beginning to look at data in a standardized way. The research standard that comes out of the US is a powerful standard. I think what the whole market needs to do is understand the importance of beginning to implement standards, and then over time working towards, ironically, fewer standards, and also perhaps using AI to translate data from one standard to the next, because there are lots of different standards. And I think the challenge in the short to medium term will be understanding that we do live in this world of multiple data formats, but that we can begin to use technology to overcome that fact to some extent and be able to move data from participant to participant, recognizing that there'll be some kind of translation that will need to take place, but that the technology itself will be part of that solution to enable us to move and share data in a well-governed way from standard to standard, but still have the benefit of having better standardized data. But I think one of the bigger challenges is that so much of our data is historical, it's in PDFs and in documents, and so there's almost a first step to take that information from documents and turn that into a more structured format that we can then use.
Nice. Could you share some insights into how RICS is collaborating with technology companies and service providers to enhance?
Yes, certainly. I mean, my role is very much about thought leadership and education and engaging with the sector and gaining insight. And so I run a program with tech providers right around the world from a thought leadership perspective. It's based around gathering insight, producing shared content to educate our sector. And so I feel it's a very important role for me to actively talk and engage with. In this case, it's up to 300 firms that we work with on this basis to understand what they're doing in the built environment, given it's such a broad church, Ravi, that you need to understand from our perspective all the different jurisdictions around the world, all those different parts of the property life cycle, all those different asset types that people are working on. So we need to have a rich, fairly well scoped and broad understanding of all the different, both mature firms and also startups, to understand the kind of technology, the kind of solutions they're building to help our profession understand and help us understand the direction of travel and indeed where people are using AI, for example.
Got it. Andrew, what are the future goals of RICS in the coming years?
I think for us, it's very much to support the profession in this journey. We're currently obviously seeing an acceleration of adoption of AI, and obviously bear in mind that I think ChatGPT came out in 2022, and that's obviously created an awful lot of noise and interest in the whole topic of AI. But AI has been around for some time now in a very usable form in terms of machine learning and neural networks. So for us, it's about helping the profession take this journey to really reap the benefits of AI and data and technology in all its forms, whilst at the same time understanding the risks and responsibilities and change that needs to take place to both benefit from this technology, but also make sure that it's adopted responsibly, because we're talking here about assets that people live, work, and play in, and therefore we've got to make sure that we focus on the effect that AI has in a positive sense to society who are so dependent upon the built environment.
Thank you, Andrew, for your time and sharing with us your wealth of knowledge on AI and data and real estate. Quite appreciate it, Andrew.
Pleasure.
Hi, Andrew.